There is a moment every person faces. The moment when everything feels like too much. When the pressure is real, the setbacks keep coming, and the easiest thing in the world would be to quit, to explode, to shut down, or to numb out. Most people in that moment let the wave hit them. They react, they spiral, they collapse inward. But there is a smaller group of people who do something different. Not because they feel less, not because life hit them softer, but because they built something inside themselves that most people never bother to construct. Mental strength. And here is what separates this video from every other one you have seen on this topic. We are not talking about motivation. Motivation is temporary. We are not talking about positivity. Positivity without structure is just wishful thinking. We are talking about specific psychological habits that are backed by behavioral science. Patterns of thinking and behavior that mentally strong people have wired into their daily existence so deeply that they activate automatically under pressure. And by the end of this video, you will understand not just what they are, but exactly why they work at the level of the brain. Habit number 1 is they feel the emotion without becoming the emotion. This is the foundation of everything else on this list. If you cannot do this one, none of the others will hold. Here is the psychology. Every human being experiences what researchers call an emotional hijacking. The moment when a triggering event, a criticism, a failure, an unexpected problem, sends a signal through the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, and floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline before the rational prefrontal cortex even has time to process what happened. This response takes approximately 6 seconds to peak. Mentally weak people react inside that 6-second window. They say things they regret. They make decisions from fear or anger. They let the emotion write the story. Mentally strong people have trained what psychologist Daniel Goleman calls emotional regulation. They have learned to notice the surge, name it, and wait. Research from UCLA found that simply labeling an emotion, saying to yourself, "I am feeling angry right now," reduces amygdala activity measurably. The act of naming what you feel shifts processing from the reactive brain to the observing brain. That shift is the difference between responding and reacting. And it is a trainable skill, not a personality trait you are either born with or not. Habit number 2 is they control what they can and release what they cannot. This sounds simple. It is not. Because the human brain is wired for control. Uncertainty activates the same threat response as physical danger. This means that when things are out of your hands, your nervous system treats it like a predator is nearby. Mentally strong people have internalized a framework that psychologists call the locus of control. People with an internal locus of control believe that their actions directly influence their outcomes. People with an external locus of control believe that outcomes are mostly determined by outside forces. Research consistently shows that people with a strong internal locus of control have lower stress levels, higher resilience, and better mental health outcomes across the board. But here is the nuance that most people miss. Mentally strong people do not pretend they control everything. They are obsessively precise about identifying what is inside their circle of control, and they pour all of their energy into that space. The outcome of a job interview is not in their control. Their preparation, their presence, and their follow-through are. The economy is not in their control. Their skills, their habits, and their financial decisions are. This is not passive acceptance. It is strategic focus, and it protects the brain from the exhausting, futile loop of trying to manage what was never yours to manage. Habit number 3 is they practice delayed gratification as a daily discipline. In 1972, psychologist Walter Mischel conducted the now famous marshmallow experiment at Stanford. Children who could resist eating one marshmallow in order to receive 2 marshmallows later showed dramatically better life outcomes decades later, including higher academic achievement, better health, and stronger social relationships. But here's what the follow-up research revealed that the original study missed. The ability to delay gratification is not purely innate. It is shaped by environment, by belief in reliability, and critically by practice. Every time you choose the harder, more rewarding option over the easier, more immediate one, you are training the prefrontal cortex to override the limbic system's demand for instant reward. You are literally building neural pathways of self-discipline. Mentally strong people do this in small ways constantly. They finish the task before checking their phone. They exercise when they do not feel like it. They have the uncomfortable conversation instead of avoiding it. These are not grand acts of willpower. They are repetitions in the gym of the mind. And like any muscle, the more you train it, the stronger it becomes and the less effort each repetition requires. Habit number 4 is they reframe failure as data. Psychologist Carol Dweck spent decades studying why some people collapse under failure while others use it as fuel. Her research produced one of the most important concepts in modern psychology: the growth mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe their abilities are static. Failure, to them, is evidence that they are not enough. People with a growth mindset believe abilities are developed through effort. Failure, to them, is information about what needs to change. Mentally strong people do not just intellectually subscribe to this idea. They have made it a reflexive habit. When something does not work, their first internal question is not "what does this say about me?" It is "what does this tell me about what to do differently?" This reframe is not denial of pain. Failure still hurts, but the story they tell themselves about what failure means is fundamentally different. And because the brain acts on the stories it believes, that different story produces different actions, different persistence, and ultimately different results. Habit number 5 is they protect their mental environment with the same seriousness they protect their physical one. You would not spend 8 hours a day breathing toxic air and expect to feel healthy. But millions of people spend 8 hours a day consuming content that amplifies outrage, comparison, and anxiety, and then wonder why their mental health is deteriorating. Mentally strong people are ruthlessly intentional about inputs. They understand a principle from cognitive behavioral psychology called cognitive priming. The stimuli you expose your brain to repeatedly shape the neural pathways your brain defaults to. Feed your brain constant negativity and your brain becomes efficient at generating negative interpretations. Feed it content that challenges your thinking and expands your perspective, and your brain becomes efficient at those patterns instead. This is not about toxic positivity or avoiding reality. It is about recognizing that attention is the most finite and valuable resource you have, and that whatever you consistently point it at is what your mind will grow toward. Habit number 6 is they sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. This might be the hardest habit on this list for modern people because we live in the most escape-rich environment in human history. Discomfort arrives, and within seconds you can vanish into a screen, a substance, a distraction, a scroll. Every escape feels justified in the moment. But every escape also sends a signal to your brain. It tells your nervous system that the discomfort was a genuine threat that needed to be fled, and each time you flee it, the threshold for what feels unbearable gets lower. Psychologists call this process avoidance conditioning, and it is one of the primary mechanisms behind anxiety disorders. The brain learns that certain feelings are dangerous and builds increasingly elaborate systems to avoid them. Mentally strong people do the opposite. They practice what clinical psychologists call distress tolerance. They sit with the discomfort. They let the craving peak and pass without acting on it. They have the conversation they are dreading instead of postponing it. They stay present in the difficulty long enough for their nervous system to learn the most important lesson it can learn: that discomfort is survivable, that the feeling will pass, that they are capable of handling it. Every time that lesson is reinforced, the discomfort loses a fraction of its power, and over time, what used to feel overwhelming starts to feel manageable. Habit number 7 is they invest in self-awareness as a lifelong practice. This is the habit that makes all the others sustainable. Because without self-awareness you cannot regulate emotions you have not identified. You cannot control your focus if you do not know where it keeps drifting. You cannot build discipline around patterns you have never examined. Mentally strong people engage in what psychologists call metacognition, thinking about their own thinking. They notice their patterns. They examine their beliefs about themselves and the world, and they ask whether those beliefs are actually true or simply old stories that have been running on autopilot since childhood. Research from the organizational psychology field shows that people with high levels of self-awareness make better decisions, build stronger relationships, communicate more effectively, and handle setbacks with greater resilience, not because they know more about the world, because they know more about themselves. And that self-knowledge is the most powerful leverage point that exists for intentional change. Here is the truth that connects all 7 of these habits. Mental strength is not a personality type. It is not something you have or you do not have. It is a construction. It is built habit by habit, decision by decision, repetition by repetition. Every moment you choose to name your emotion instead of becoming it, you are building. Every moment you focus on what you can control and let go of what you cannot, you are building. Every time you sit with discomfort instead of running from it, you are building something inside you that no external circumstance can take away. The mentally strong people you admire were not born that way. They were forged, and you have access to the exact same forge. If this gave you something real today, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe because we're just getting started.